Hello everyone, I'm Mr. Matthew Does Coding, and today I'm going to become Oppenheimer. Alright, so our main objective is to make an atomic bomb in Roblox. Not in real life. Government, please don't come after me. Alright, so let's first start with making our little bomb. So let's do that. Alright, we've got our little nuclear warhead here, so let me group it. And we will call it Little Jimmy. There we go. So we got Little Jimmy here, right? And Little Jimmy isn't little. He's gonna be big boy. So, we got Little Jimmy here. But Little Jimmy can't do anything. He's just a piece of metal and doesn't do anything. So let me actually anchor this stuff real quick. Or actually, no. We need to make sure that it will explode on impact. So it'd probably be best to weld these parts together instead, so that we can just get rid of the welds when we are ready to have it explode. So let's do that real quick. Alright, so now when we run the game, it should stay intact. Yeah, but it's unanchored. So it's still... yeah, it can bounce around and stuff like that. So now we need to actually code the bomb to explode on impact. So my idea is that we're going to have certain blast zones for this, like a real nuclear explosion. So there will be a radius, which will be probably like a sphere that'll grow, and everything inside of there will be completely destroyed. So anything in that radius is just gone. So if I have a part or something in here, it won't be charred or black or anything like that. It'll just be gone, deleted. And then we'll have another sphere which will char everything. And then we'll probably have a third sphere which will mainly just be for the player to take damage, or for there to be some kind of a pushback from the bomb. So let's add in a script. I'll add it into the main, or into the top part right here in front. And we need to code those spheres to happen upon impact. So let's do that. Alright, so hopefully the code should make it so that when the front of the bomb hits the ground, then it will create a new instance called the death radius. That'll be the inner most deadly portion of the explosion that will incinerate anything that touches it. And it doesn't have any color right now, but it should spawn it right where the position of the body is at that moment. And it also should destroy the script so that we don't have it touch things multiple times, and then things go south, and you have a ton of different death radiuses popping up everywhere. So let's hit run, and hopefully it'll do what we want. Right there, that is the little death radius that'll start. And also our bomb just went everywhere, which is good. That's what we want. So now I have to make it so that the ball will, first of all, it has to be colored correctly. So I'll make it an almost yellow, but mostly white. and it'll be semi-transparent. So if I just add depth radius, which is what I'm calling it, I should also probably name it up here. Depth radius dot name equals depth radius. And then down here, depth radius dot color equals color3 dot new. And then we'll make it yellow, but mostly white. Barely has any yellow in it. There we go. And then what we want to do after this is we want to make it so that it grows. So I'm just going to do that with a little loop, and it'll stop at a certain point in its growth, so it won't just keep growing forever, because then it'll just consume the entire map, and it'll become too big for the computer to handle, and then it'll just shut off. So let me also add the transparency to be about a 0.35. 0.35 should be good. And I might want to start it at a slightly larger radius of like a 10 by 10 instead of a 3 by 3. So now we run it, and things should change. Alright, error messages. Forgot to capitalize name because coding is case sensitive. Yay. Alright, there we go. There's our little ball here now. So now, next step is to make it grow. So let me code that. Alright, so what this little bit of code should do is make it neon, first of all. And also, it's going to end up increasing the size until it ends up at 300. Or its maximum point will be 300. It won't exceed 300. And it'll grow it by 3 every single time it loops, which will be every 0.3 seconds. So, let's run it. And we get errors, more errors, yay. Comparing vector through to a number. Alright, so since the ball increases size X, Y, and Z in all directions, I can just probably pick a random direction. I'll just pick the X-axis to compare it to, since all the axes will increase. There we go. And it's growing because, well, it hasn't gotten to the script destroy yet, which is a bit of an issue, but it is growing, but it is growing at a painfully slow pace. So I'm going to increase that to 0.1, and also, what I'm gonna do is after we get done using the front of this, I'm going to just remove the front and probably move this script into here. So then that'll just mean I have to change up this. So instead it would be script.parent.front. Oops. Parent.front. And then we would just have to do front.parent.body. That works. So we can, or I mean, just for the sake of consistency, that looks a lot cleaner. Alright, so now it should work better, and we can just, after we get its position, which is right here, we can remove the body. Or we can move the front, because we won't need to use any of this kind of stuff afterwards. So let's hit run, and now it should only create one ball. And it grows faster than it did previously, which is really good. But does it stop? Is what I want to know. Its size... Oh wait, it did stop. What did it stop at? It stopped at 301. Good enough. So, that's all cool, right? Now we just need the other giant balls to grow along with this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do this sort of thing again for 2 other spheres or radiuses of the explosion, and just have them grow to larger magnitudes. And they'll also probably go along with the one that's growing currently. So the second and third ball will follow the growth of the first ball, and then when the first ball stops, then you'll see just the second and third growing, and then the second will stop, and then the third one continues going. So let me code that real quick. Alright, so what I've done with the code here is I've cleaned it up a little bit so that I don't have to copy and paste three times all the properties, and instead I put it into a function up here called createBall, or radius, so that it can just do it for all 3 of these. And I can just set the certain parameters, like which ball or radius we're talking about, what color I want it to be, the size, and its name. Like that. And then I just put these 3 while loops for each of the radiuses, and you can see in the first one where all 3 of them are growing. In the second one, the first one has stopped growing, so the next 2 continue growing, while the last one got left behind. And then the same thing with the third one, where the first radius keeps growing and the other 2 stay stagnant. And I also changed the values of each of these so that each one gets larger than the previous one. So let's put our little nuke up here, and if I hit run, we'll see errors again. Alright, the issue is that the color and the size were flipped here in the parameters. So if I just switch up color size here, it should fix the issue. So now, hit it, and it's growing. And now we have multiple spheres. That's fun. You can kind of see that one's being left behind because it started after all the others, and so I need to fix that. But you can see the second sphere is growing, and then eventually the third sphere will come in to play. I think it already has. Yeah. Now there's a third sphere growing, and it creates this crazy looking thing, and it kind of almost looks like the sun. And we have another little one going as well. So I have to fix the issue here of the front, not of the front still registering touched events after it's been dealt with. So let me see if it would be possible to destroy the front right here after we've created the radiuses, because they do need to know where the position of the front is before it can start doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, the front has been destroyed, and here there's no more front to the bomb. So now it's just growing, but it does grow at kind of a slow rate, still slower than I think it should be. So I'm gonna reduce these to 0.05 instead of 0.1 and see how that plays out. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. Now we should probably make it so that the radiuses don't have collision, because it's just kind of shoving the it's kind of shoving the parts of the bomb away. So I need to fix that. And it's very, very massive. It almost looks like, yeah, it looks like the sun, but it's like one of those science diagrams that you'd see in elementary school explaining like the corona and stuff like that. So let me make it so that the ball doesn't have collision. Ball dot can collide equals false. And now all the parts of the bomb won't be tossed around, and they'll just stay inside of there. So that's all really cool, but the spheres are just there for the looks right now. They don't actually do anything. So we need to make it so that the spheres actually do something. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so that in the, what'll be called the death radius, anything inside of the death radius will be completely deleted. So what I think I want to do is I want to make more scripts, and what we're gonna do is after we create these scripts, or after we create these radiuses for the bomb explosion, we're going to parent these scripts to the specific radius that they're attached to, and then they'll do their certain functions, such as charring things or completely getting rid of things, or just doing damage to the player. So I'm going to name this one Death Radius, and then we'll have two more. We'll have Poison Radius, and we will have Charred Radius. So now, in the Death Radius, what we're gonna do is we're going to code it to assume that it's already been parented, but we're gonna get errors. So it'd probably be a good idea to disable these and then re-enable them once they've been parented to these scripts. So inside of Death Radius, we'll put local radius equals script.parent, and then we'll have radius dot touched connect function. And now inside of this function, we're going to make it so that things just get deleted. So let me do that. And boom. That's literally it. It gets touched, it goes bye-bye. With the chart script, pretty similar, except we're just going to do something different. If part is a part, or part is a union, or just like anything that you can make texture or material or color changes to, like parts, unions, or I think mesh parts you can also change the color of. So if it's any of these, then part.color is gonna be color3.new, and it's gonna be just black, completely black. And then we'll change its material to be enum.material dot, what would be the best material for this kind of stuff? It'd probably be something kind of gross looking. Let's see how it would look like on this. Basalt. I'm gonna go with basalt. Alright, so we'll do basalt. So anything that touches that will become basalt. And it'll also become completely black because it'll be charred. Now, with the poison radius, we're gonna make it so that if we're gonna do a little player check here. Part.parent : is, or wait, part.parent colon find first child. Humanoid. I cannot type today. Humanoid. Then, and then we're going to just do, local player, local character. Humanoid. We need humanoid. Equals part.parent colon find first child humanoid. Alright. And then humanoid. If I remember correctly, I don't do a lot with humanoids, but I think we can just set its health to equal 0, and then it'll just die. So, hopefully these won't cause errors, but let me modify the script, the main script, so that it'll parent these ones to their respected spheres, and they'll do their little functions. Alright, so scripts have been modified, so now we have an extra parameter for the script here, and it'll just parent it to its respected radius, and it'll enable it. So, hopefully, what I can do is if I can put a part right under this bomb, like right about there, and make it big and obvious so I will know if it's gone. Alright, there. Big and obvious. So if things go according to plan, when this gets touched by the sphere, the death sphere, it'll just be deleted. So let me do big and obvious part. So you have our big and obvious part, and now it's gonna get blown up. Index nil with find first child. Alright, so after a really long time of debugging this, I think I have figured out the solution to our issue. So with these scripts now, the ones that get put into these into the explosion radiuses, they're just for like killing off the player if they're touched. All the other stuff is handled inside of main, like in the death radius. Every single time it grows now, it'll loop through all the touching parts. Instead of listening for part.touch, it'll instead get all the parts touching it inside of its bounding box or overlapping with its bounding box, and then destroy them, as long as they're not one of the explosion parts and they're not the base plate. Because then, if you get rid of the base plate, it ruins the fun of it. With the charge stuff, pretty much the same with this. Don't ruin the base plate, don't ruin the explosion radiuses, but change everything else to be this. And then with the poison radius, everything's just kept in here because its only function is to kill the player. And that should be mostly it, but I think that it'd be a good idea to potentially make it so that in the poison radius, we could have it so that instead of it like charring up the parts or destroying the parts, we can just unanchor the parts and have them shake, kind of like an earthquake kind of motion. So v dot anchored equals false. And there. And I should probably be adding this as well onto these other things, just in case, you know, you get something weird that it touches. Actually, no, because it only gets touching parts, so this isn't even necessary. I'm a dingus. Alright, so that should be good. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate our big and obvious part and put it around, and we'll see different effects based on how far it is from the explosion. So, run, and watch the explosion. So as it grows, which is probably still too slow, it'll do that. And then you'll see that these ones will get turned black, all charred up, and they'll have the basalt color to them. And then these ones should get unanchored, but they don't, because my code sucks. So let's figure out why. Because it's checking the charred radius, it's not checking the poison radius. And also, I think that its speed should be really, really fast to start with, and then it should get slightly slower as it keeps going. So it gets super fast to start with, and then it's a little bit slower, just barely slower. And then it slows down a decent amount. And now they get unanchored because now it's checking for that specific radius and not the others. Now, one last thing, this explosion should probably not just stay there. It should probably be gone after a certain amount of time. So I think that we could have it just kind of dissipate, and it like increases transparency until it's gone, and once it's fully transparent, then we'll just get rid of them. So now let's run it and see how things go. So it explodes, and it grows, and it grows, and then eventually it'll dissipate, and oh wait, I forgot, it's supposed to not just break, but it's supposed to destroy all three of them. And I also didn't have it wait, so it just did it instantly. There's a lot of things that I'm forgetting. It's late. I'm tired. So, point 3, and then also, we need to have all of these destroyed. You know what, I can also probably just I can just destroy the entire bomb group. Little Jimmy : destroy. Boom. Alright, so it dissipated, and you can't see it anymore, so let's check. Little Jimmy is no longer in the workspace. And I think it would probably be best if we had it wait like 2 seconds before it fully did it. But that's a nuke in Roblox. So that's pretty cool. We have successfully become Oppenheimer today. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe if you found this entertaining. Peace.